I want to welcome you to the Placer County Board of Supervisors meeting of April 7, 2009. And this morning, our attorney, Tony LaBeouf, is going to lead us in the pledge. If you'd please join us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Tony. Ann, would you please read the meeting procedures?
Welcome to the Placer County Board of Supervisors meeting of April 7th, 2009. Agendas are available on the wall outside this meeting room. If you are here to speak on an issue not appearing on the agenda, you may do so during the public comment period. There's a 3-minute time limit per speaker. The board is not permitted to take action on items addressed under public comment. When you speak, clearly state your name and address for the record. All items on the agenda will be open for the public to address before final action is taken. There's a 3-minute time limit per speaker, which will be monitored by a timer on the podium. If there is a person speaking on behalf of a group with no other testimony from another member of the group, please identify yourself as such, and your time may be extended at the pleasure of the board. Keep in mind that the chairman has the discretion of limiting the total discussion time on any item. If you are hearing impaired, we have listening devices available. It is requested that all pagers and cell phones be either turned off or put in the silent mode. Thank you for your participation and cooperation.
Thank you. Now we'll open it up for public comment. Anybody in the public wishing to address the board with any items that are not on the agenda, please come forward.
Good morning, Chairman Rockholm and Board of Supervisors, and Tom. We're here. I'm Angela Toddy with the Arts Council of Placer County, Placer Arts, and
I'm Jan Decker. I'm with the Placer County Visitors Bureau and also run the Placer County's Welcome Center.
Good morning. I'm Melanie Barton. I'm the Placer County Museum's Administrator.
And we represent a steering committee of multiple agencies throughout Placer County, including the North Lake Tahoe Resort Association, Placer Valley Tourism, of course, Placer County Visitors Bureau, and other municipal economic development agencies and departments and committees and other private sector organizations in culture and heritage. And we're here to promote and invite you to the first Regional Cultural and Heritage Tourism Conference on April 29th and 30th. On the 29th, we start out with an assets tour. We're making arrangements for buses to do a figure eight on the western slope, going down to Roseville, picking up the Highway 80 or Highway 40 historic route and going up to Colfax, and it'll wind up back at the Flower Farm in Loomis, and which will be followed by a wonderful reception featuring placer-grown wines and placer-grown food purveyors, and keynote speaker Ruth Schnabel from CalFest, who will talk on the wedding industry. She's a wonderful resident of Tahoe City, and we're excited for that address. And then the next morning we start off with a Feats of Clay tour in Lincoln at the historic Gladding McBean, followed by a workshop at Lincoln City Hall. We have 100 seats, and the focus is on cultural tourism and heritage tourism, which includes recreation, since we have this wonderful backdrop of the Gold Country and High Sierra and Valley, Pastoral Valley. Opportunities for recreation are endless, and that's part of our culture here, so that's included in cultural and heritage tourism in Placer County. So we'd like to thank you for your time and your support. Dave Snyder with Economic Development has been involved. Ron Iglesias has been sitting on our committee meetings. I'll pass this out.
Okay. Again, we just look at this as a great opportunity to connect the dots for Placer County. There's a lot of organizations out there that, we've heard each other's names, we've talked on the phone, but we've never been able to put the face with the name. So we're looking really forward to this, to have a good showing. And as I look at the clock here, I see that I'm quickly running out of time. But again, just as Angie had invited all of you, we hope that if there's anybody that you know or that you think should come to a conference like this, we've got limited seating, unfortunately. We've only got seats for 100. So we would encourage you to get your registration in early And it should be a great conference. I'm really looking forward to it. Oh, time's up. Thank you.
Would you like to make a comment?
I have other comments, so I'm never...
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Once again, I'm Melanie Barton. I'm the Placer County Museum's administrator, and I wanted to bring to the board's attention several important things that are happening nationally and on a state level. The first thing is National Volunteer Week. I don't know if any of you are familiar with that, but it will be celebrated April 19th through the 25th. It's always that last week in April. And as I'm sure you do know, the county benefits from many volunteers that work in a multitude of different ways for the county. And in museums in particular, we would not be able to offer the services that we do if we didn't have our volunteers. We have 148 volunteers, this is from 2008, who contribute 12,000 hours. And for most of those people, that means they're volunteering 2 days a month, from 4 to 8 hours. And if you ever go to one of our museums, which I hope you do, it's those people who meet and greet each of you as you walk in the door. They do research projects at the Archives and Research Center. They do help us with clerical projects as needed. They do all of our education programs for children. Obviously, they're assisting trained docents, but without their help, we would not be able to open the doors on many of our museums on a regular basis like we do. So I think we should make a real effort in the county to recognize all these people who contribute on a daily basis to the things that we're doing. We have an annual volunteer appreciation dinner for museum volunteers, and this year that's going to be on May 17th. And if any of you would like to come and be part of that, please contact me. I'd love to send you an invitation. And I think the volunteers would really enjoy seeing from their supervisors and know that they're also appreciated in that. The other thing I'd like to mention is that, again, you're probably aware of this, but May is California Museum Month. And last year this body did a resolution acknowledging that, but this year I just thought I'd call and come and remind you that it is an important month for museums. And you may not be aware that there are over 1,300 museums in the state providing services, and about 52% of those offer free admission to the public. And as I know you're aware, we have 6 museums in the county that the Board of Supervisors has chosen to support, and all of those museums are free, as are the majority of our programs. So thank you very much for that. One of the most important things that we do in our museums is to help the state meet the obligations in the field of education. And we have locally, we have living history programs, we have tours, we have a Gold Rush program, and all of those are provided with your support, so I thank you for that. And there's one last thing I would like to invite you to do. Our latest, most current exhibit is called Unveiled, and it features the wedding dresses in our own collection. We have an awesome, just amazing collection of wedding dresses going back to the Gold Rush. Our oldest one is from 1868. And for the first time, this exhibit theme is throughout all 3 of the museums in Auburn. And the opening reception is on April 30th, and I hope you'll all come. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments during public comment? Seeing none, I'll close public comment and move on to Supervisors Committee reports. Jennifer? Jim?
I don't have a committee report. I just wanted to let everyone know that, as the board knows, that on Sunday we lost Dr. Konstantin Papadakis, the president of Drexel University, at the age of 63. Dr. Papadakis, who those of us who got to know him affectionately called him Taki, had a bout with lung cancer and succumbed to pneumonia suddenly on Sunday. Dr. Papadakis was a very dynamic individual who had held the helm of Drexel University for 13 years, began a school of public health, began a school of law in Drexel in those 13 years. Anyone that met him knew that he was a presence. His vision to bring a university to Placer County could not have been done without him. We are saddened, but the Drexel University will continue, and our thoughts and prayers go out to the family of Drexel and to Dr. Papadakis' family. I didn't know whether it would be appropriate for any of the board members to go back for the funeral to represent Placer County, but that's just an item for discussion if anybody thought that that would be appropriate. Thank you.
Kurt?
Yeah, under committee reports, I had informed the board, I think a couple of months ago, about kind of the evolution within the Golden Sierra Job Training Agency and the Joint Powers Authority that we now have between ourselves, El Dorado, and Alpine County with the departure of Nevada and Sierra counties. Two things have happened recently. Our board met and decided to move forward with pursuing Nevada and Sierra counties and their ongoing obligation to the employees of the JPA. They were present when certain obligations were made to those employees for retirement benefits, health benefits, and all the rest, and they left the JPA essentially asserting that they had no obligation. And so we as a JPA believe that it's in our collective interest as well as the individual county's interest to make sure that partners to the JPA understand that when they vote to encumber long-term obligations, they have an obligation to meet that. And then our county council has been working closely with the other county councils from Alpine and El Dorado County, as well as the attorney for the JPA, to redo our existing JPA agreement so that it is current and clear. And some conversation was held in our last meeting. It will be that a copy of that JPA will be before our board probably sometime in either May or June for our board to then ratify whether we move forward with the modified agreement between the agencies. It's just an update.
Thank you. Do you want to make any comment on? No. I would agree with Jim that maybe it would be appropriate for someone to attend that. I would be open to that. I would not be able to be the one doing that, but if somebody, I would certainly support if one of us wanted to go.
I'd be glad to do it since I got to know Dr. Papadakis, but again, it would be the wish of the board. I don't want to, impose myself on.
I think it's appropriate. I think that we're dealing with a university that has made a substantial commitment to us, to this county. They have clearly demonstrated in good faith that they are going through all the very methodical business plan-like steps that they laid out to test our market with their graduate studies program in Sacramento. And I think that out of respect for Dr. Papadakis, his family, as well as the members of the Board of Trustees of the university, having a representative from our Board of Supervisors, and I think Supervisor Holmes would be a great representative. I think that would be an appropriate move for us.
If I can make a suggestion, if we could have a motion to amend the agenda by a 4/5 vote, we could put it on for a vote and authorize sending something.
Okay, I'll move that we amend the agenda in order to agendize authorization of travel by Supervisor Holmes out of state to attend the funeral of President Papadakis.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Now, Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the travel of Supervisor Holmes to the funeral.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a short presentation. On last Wednesday, March 25th, we had the opening the groundbreaking, and Robert Wygant, Kirk Euler, Jim Holmes, and Tom Miller, Ken Grimm, Department of Public Works, and myself attended the groundbreaking ceremony. It's probably the first time we've all had a shovel in our hand in many years. The project is important to all of us because it will eliminate the last at-grade intersection with traffic signals on Highway 65 between Interstate 80 and Lincoln. The project will cost approximately $25 million. It is expected to be completed by fall of 2010. Think for a moment what a difference the interchange will make. It will reduce traffic congestion significantly and help make the highway safer. It will improve traffic circulation for businesses and give the area's economic development efforts a big boost. That's particularly important for Placer County because this intersection is an important gateway to our Sunset Industrial area. It will create more than 60 badly needed construction jobs and will help ensure areas west of here to continue to have reliable water supply by relocating the Placer County Water Agency's water line underneath the highway and replacing it with a new water line. The project delivery team included Placer County Public Works Department, Ken Grimm, Public Works Director, project designer Mark Thomas Company, construction management and inspection by SOMAS, construction contractor RGW Construction. The project also is important because it's a model for cooperation among local agencies. Placer County, the City of Roseville, the City of Rockland created the Highway 65 Joint Powers Authority to help finance 4 interchanges through traffic mitigation fees. This project is the last of the 4. Each is a testament to how much we can accomplish working together on projects that benefit us all. Another partner on this interchange we want to thank is the United Auburn Indian Community. They contributed up front $4.7 million to help get this project off the ground. Other attendees included representatives from our other partners on transportation projects, including Caltrans, Placer County Transportation Planning Agency, and the City of Lincoln. The groundbreaking ceremony is a chance to celebrate the start of construction on this badly needed project and the spirit of cooperation that brought us to where we are today. And I want to thank all of those in Placer County and our surrounding agencies that were involved in this, because this will make a significant difference. I did have to make a joke, though, that with this change, now we can go from Roseville to Lincoln in about 3.5 minutes, and it'll take 30 minutes to get through town. So sooner the Highway 65 bypass is completed, the better. But thank all of you that were involved. And thank you, Anita, for your efforts on this, putting this together. Thank you. We'll move now to the consent agenda. Is there any items, if anybody in the audience have any items on the consent agenda that they would like to visit? Seeing none. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in a roll call.
Holmes? Aye. Euler? Aye. Montgomery? Aye. Rocco?
Yes. I'm hoping I'm not going to lose my voice. Now it's my great honor to make a presentation to Mr. Ed Tiedemann for his 50 years of service with the Placer County Water Agency. Whereas Edward J. Tiedemann has been associated with Placer County Water Agency since February 1959. Mr. Tiedemann worked for the County of Placer as an Assistant County Executive Officer from February 23, 1959 through January 12, 1962, and unofficially acted as the first General Manager of the Placer County Water Agency. On December 12, 1961, the Board of Directors of the Placer County Water Agency voted to commend Mr. Tiedemann for passing the California State Bar. He received a Juris Doctorate from the University of the Pacific, McGeorge School of Law, graduating magna cum laude. On January 9, 1962, the Board of Directors cast a vote of appreciation to Mr. Tiedemann for his work with the Placer County Water Agency during his service as Assistant County Executive Officer. Mr. Tiedemann entered private practice on July 10, 1962. The agency adopted resolution number 62-12 authorizing Mr. Tiedemann, now an associate of Cronick, Moskovich, and Vanderlane, to act as legal counsel and provided him compensation at the rate of $15 per hour, not to exceed $100 per day, and travel to be recompensed at actual expenses and mileage of 10 cents a mile. Mr. Tiedemann entered, he is in general counsel to Placer County Water Agency and Kings River Conservation District and special counsel to Kern County Water Agency. He is also counsel to the Association of California Water Agencies Joint Power Insurance Authority. He is a member of the Sacramento County Bar Association, the American Bar Association, the California State Bar Association, and the Placer County Bar Association. He is a Martindale-Hubbell AV rated attorney. Mr. Tiedemann was involved in the formation of the Middle Fork American River Project while serving as Assistant County Executive Officer for the County of Placer. Mr. Tiedemann has been a significant contributor to Placer County's success through the years. He provided a guiding hand in the successful countywide bond election that led to the construction of the Middle Fork American River Project. He was instrumental in securing the federal licenses and permits for power generation and area of origin water rights and has been vigilant in protecting Placer County's area of origin water rights and water supply. In December 2008, the Regional Water Authority, representing 22 water suppliers in the Sacramento region, recognized Mr. Tiedemann with his Distinguished Service Award. Mr. Tiedemann has provided steady leadership and counsel to Placer County Water Agency's progress over the past half-century. Now, therefore, let it be known that the Placer County Board of Supervisors takes great joy in honoring Edward J. Tiedemann for 50 years of service at the Placer County Water Agency and thanks him for his contribution as one of California's foremost water and public law attorneys. And I just want to say that I'm tired just reading this, so I can. What an outstanding job you've done in representing the people of Placer County, and it is my great honor to give you this. Congratulations. Here's your.
Some long-winded attorney must have written that for you.
He wants to take our picture.
Okay. Thank you very
And you're
much.
welcome to say something if you'd like to. And
I get 50 minutes? Or?
You know, at $15 an hour, take all the time you want.
That's right. Yeah, I was worth every penny of it, I said to people. Well, it's been an honor and a privilege to work for Placer County. I'm still working for Placer County. And I hope maybe I got to get out here and go to work here pretty soon. But I appreciate the honor, and I was very fortunate to work with the leaders in the 1950s and 60s that put the water agency project together, and you can be very proud of what they did. You can go up and down the Sierras, you go to your counties south of you, they have dams and they have reservoirs, El Dorado, Amador, Calaveras, but they're to capture the water to export it outside of those counties. And you're not in that situation. But again, I appreciate it. You might think that those pioneers did everything that needs to be done, and you can sit back and bask in that glory, but I think you've got the fights ahead of you on water that are every bit as big as they had. You got people wanting to take your water away from you now. They say you should give up 20% of your water for urban development by 2020 so that it can go elsewhere. And it will go elsewhere if you aren't as diligent as they were then. So I hope you can keep it up. I don't think I'll stick around another 50 years to watch it, but the other thing, you know, I'm a retiree of Placer County. I worked here 3 years, left my money there, so I get my retirement check every month. So keep PERS up. I get $44, and if my wife brings her money, we can go to dinner together. So, thank you very much. I didn't expect it, and I will hang this up and appreciate it.
Our one attorney wants to comment to.
You know, having only done this for 25 years.
Oh, you've got a long way to go.
I got a long way to go. I truly appreciate the ability, you know, for the length of service and the dedication to the people. It is, when I arrived here, I knew a lot about some things. Mostly I didn't know much about county government, and I didn't know a lot about water. And everything I've learned along the way, I've learned by talking to you, Ed. And you've been a great help. And you know, Rocky referred to it earlier about the cooperation on the interchange with the local cities. The relationship between the county and the water agency is just amazing, and it takes a lot of people to do that, and it's not just any one person. But you've been there for a long time, and you've helped encourage that positive cooperative relationship, all for the benefit of the citizens of this county. And it truly is a miracle, from my point of view, as a transport, what they pulled off in the late 50s and the 60s. And it is something to be protected, and again, at least from one lawyer to another lawyer, I want to thank you, and I never worked for $15 an hour.
So you pointed out something that's very important, that's the cooperation between the two boards, and that's been great, and I hope it goes on. They've worked together, and they've got to work together, because there's people outside the county that would just as soon not have your water stay here. So thank you again, and I appreciate this.
Jim?
Mr. Tiedemann, I just, on behalf of myself, I just want to thank you for your long-term service. And if it makes any, it may not make any difference to you, but each of us makes about less than $15 an hour.
Yes, I know.
So some things never change.
You want me to tell you how to raise rates? Yeah, well, I got out of that $15 stuff. You're still there.
Well, thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you.
I have one more proclamation to read, and it's declaring April 2009 as Parliamentary Law Month in Placer County. And Diane Bish and Rick Snyder are here, and I'll read this, and then I'll have them join me at the podium down there. Whereas it is inappropriate to honor both Thomas Jefferson, author of the first American Manual on Parliamentary Practice, in his birth month, and Henry Martin Robert, author of Pocket Manual of Robert's Rules of Order for Deliberative Assemblies, familiar known as Robert's Rules of Order. The current edition of Robert's Rules of Order, newly revised 10th edition, is widely recognized as the leading parliamentary authority. It is timely to reflect upon the importance of parliamentary procedure in the meetings of private and public organizations, including governmental. The National Association of Parliamentarians, the NAP, has authorized the NAP President to delegate April as Parliamentary Law Month. The Sierra Area Parliamentarians, which encompass Placer County and the California State Association of Parliamentarians and the National Association of Parliamentarians, stress and foster parliamentary procedures in order to educate the public, promote the spirit of justice and fairness, and provide an opportunity for developing leadership. The Placer County Supervisors recognize and honor those organizations that are dedicated to the best ideals of public service, and the National Association of Parliamentarians is one such worthy organization. Now, therefore, let it be proclaimed that the Placer County Board of Supervisors does hereby declare April 2009 as Parliamentary Law Month, and encourage all to reflect on the value and importance of parliamentary procedure. Congratulations. I guess I want to take a picture. We're good. We haven't broke the camera yet.
You betcha.
You're welcome to make a few comments.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and fellow supervisors. I must commend you as you began your meeting for the proper procedure you use. Unfortunately, I won't be able to stay and hear the rest of the meeting, but I ask that the clerk record, if anyone says the following phrase, "so move," have them removed from the chamber. Because with proper procedure, you should state exactly what you are proposing and what you will be voting on, and I commend you for that. And thank you for recognizing our organization for Parliamentary Law Month.
Thank you.
Mr. Supervisor.
Okay, now we'll take up the 9:15 item, number 3, Health and Human Services.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. My name's Bob Dunstan. I'm the Human Services Director for Placer County Health and Human Services. The item that I have before you this morning is...
Can I stop you just for a minute?
Sure, please.
An error in my part. See, here he was praising us for the proper procedures. We need to adjourn as the Placer County Board of Supervisors and reconvene as the Placer County Housing Authority. Now we can go. I'm sorry for the interruption.
No problem. The item that I have before you as the Housing Authority Board, it is a request that you approve an update to a 5-year annual plan for the Housing Choice Voucher Program. This is a federal program that provides vouchers to very low-income families. It's a program that we've administered for many years. It's a voucher system that means that the tenants, the people that are eligible for these vouchers, choose their housing on their own and live where they choose, make the arrangements with the tenant. We receive approximately $1.6 million for housing assistance payments and have about 260 individuals and families currently receiving housing as a result of this program. One of the requirements is that an annual plan be submitted. This is, as I say, an update to the 5-year plan. The plan was noticed in all the local newspapers and was posted for a 45-day public comment period. And actually, we've not received public comment, which is not unusual. The form is actually pretty perfunctory, quite frankly. There's no changes to the plan other than to acknowledge that we're moving forward with the renewal of the 5-year plan, really as it was written back in 2005. The request that I have before you is a 2-part request. One is to conduct a public hearing. In the event that someone wishes to comment on the plan, they may do so at this meeting, and then their comments would be incorporated into the plan. And the second is to approve the attached resolution authorizing the submission of the plan on behalf of Placer County's Public Housing Authority.
Then it would be appropriate then for me to open it up to the public. I'll open up the public hearing. Anybody wishing to make a comment on this item? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Bring it back to the board. Any questions?
I move the approval of the aforementioned item.
Does that include A and B?
That includes A and B.
A, I believe, was just to conduct the hearing. B is the actual resolution.
Okay.
So I think you accomplished A.
Do we have a second then?
Yeah, I would second the adoption of the resolution authorizing the submission of our PHA plan for 910.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we will adjourn as the Placer County Housing Authority and reconvene as the Placer County Board of Supervisors and take up item number 4.
Good morning. Chairman Rockholm, board members, Anita Reese from the County Executive Office. Today we're asking your board to adopt a resolution encouraging residents of Placer County to actively participate in the Census 2010 and direct staff to establish a Placer County Complete Count Committee to plan and implement local census outreach efforts to achieve a complete county population count. Also presenting today is Joe Jimenez, Partnership Specialist with the U.S. Census Bureau. As you're aware, every decade, the U.S. Census Bureau conducts a constitutionally mandated census to determine the number of people living within the United States and our territories. That means that the next census will be conducted in 2010. The census data is important to help make vital decisions on behalf of all residents, including reapportionment and redistricting decisions. Also, census data affects how more than $300 billion in federal funds are distributed to tribal, state, and local governments. Actively encouraging residents to participate in Census 2010 will help to increase the accuracy and completeness of the population count in Placer County. To this end, it is recommended that your board direct staff to establish a complete count committee. As a result of active participation by all residents, a more accurate U.S. Census count is expected to result in increased federal and state funding opportunities to the county. With that, I'd like to turn over the presentation to Joe Jimenez with the U.S. Census Bureau.
Thank you. Is this on? Thank you, Anita, and Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Mr. Miller, our census liaison, and members of the public. I thank you for this opportunity to speak to you about Census 2010. The Census 2010, as you know, is mandated by the Constitution and must be held every 10 years on years ending in 0. The personal information that we collect, names, addresses, phone numbers, are held private for 72 years and are not shared with anyone. Every census employee takes a lifetime oath to not disclose any personal information. To violate that oath is to be subject to a $250,000 fine and 5 years in prison. This is guaranteed under Title 13, Section 9 of the Civil Code. And it's really important that every person be counted. But the biggest reason people do not mail back their questionnaire is because they're afraid that the personal information will be shared. For every 1% of the population that does not mail back their questionnaire, the United States government will spend approximately $90 million to send people out to collect it. Counting everybody is important because it's what deems the apportionment to be made in Congress for all the states and the members they're going to have in the House of Representatives. It's also used to redistrict congressional, legislative, and local representative districts. It's used to determine how much money each state receives, and $300 billion is going to be dispensed every year for 10 years after this count. So that will determine how much money California gets. It's also used to determine by school district to determine where new schools are going to be needed, and used by businesses to determine where they're going to open up a restaurant, or they're going to build a factory, or they're going to build a plant. These numbers are what they use. And these are just a few of the uses of the census. The Census Bureau has been working with your county in updating local addresses, and is now currently conducting an address canvassing operation that will verify every address in each of your cities and in the county, so that we will make sure that we do not miss anyone that we are going to mail a questionnaire out to, which we will mail approximately 124 million questionnaires to households. The Census Bureau employees that are going door to door as we speak will be holding a handheld computer. They will have a badge. They will also be carrying a census bag with the logo on it, the census logo on it. They will not ask any questions on Social Security numbers, credit cards. The only questions they will ask, if they ask any, will be when they see that there may be another living unit on the same lot, or that they cannot make out the address so that they can verify it. The census appreciates your partnering with us to help us accomplish this goal of counting everyone in Placer County, counting them once, counting them where they live, and counting everyone. In order to do this, we will reach out to all social organizations, school districts, faith-based organizations, media, electronic and print, and business organizations, asking them to assist us in outreaching the people that they serve, and asking you to outreach the people that you serve in Placer County. We will also need your help to reach the hard to count. The hard to count are ethnic minorities, renters, young males. Young males are the largest undercounted group in the census, 18 to 25. And we will also need to impress the people filling out the questionnaire that they need to count all children, because children, young children, are the second largest undercounted group in the census. We will be sending questionnaire or census materials to every K through 12 school, public school, in the school districts to assist the teachers in implementing census information into their curriculum, so that all the students will become to know how important the census is in their lives and tell their parents. Because many times the people, the young children or the young people that are going to school are the only ones that speak English in the home. We will be asking faith-based organizations to include census importance of being counted into their sermons. We will be asking social service organizations to make sure the people that they serve understand how important it is to be counted, because it affects the amount of money that they will receive in order when they apply for grants, how much money is available for grants. We will also want to let people know that starting next September, we will be testing applicants for the biggest job that we will undertake during Census 2010, and that's non-response follow-up. That's where we go out and get information from the people that do not mail back their questionnaire. Census 2010, and any census, is a very large undertaking, and it will require the work of everyone who is influenced by its count. It's mandated by the Constitution, and if we believe in the United States and its principles, it's something that we should all do. We would like, with your assistance, as you helped us in 2000, to surpass the mail-back response rate that we had in 2000, which matched the national average of 67%. The city of Auburn had a mail-back response rate of 77%. The city of Colfax had 64% mail-back response. Lincoln, 72% mail-back response. Loomis, 73% mail-back response. Roseville, 77% mail-back response. And Rockland, 69% mail-back response rate. All, basically, except for Colfax, higher than the national average, and not as high as what we hope to accomplish in 2010. I want to thank you again for the opportunity to speak to you about Census 2010, for your gracious courtesy to assist us in counting everybody in Placer County. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other comments? Tom?
Yes, if I might mention something, we're very fortunate to have Joe back with us again. He was here for the last census counts, helped greatly in terms of the whole count committee. Both Anita Yoder and Anita Reese were on that whole count committee. This year, unlike the last census or this census, the state did provide some limited funding. We don't expect to get any this year, but as clearly identified by Joe, there's great reasons why we need to do our best to try and get a complete census count on behalf of the citizens of this county.
And I have left pamphlets with Mary Hertignan that she will hand out to you afterwards. Thank you very much.
I think in our county we're underrepresented. Maybe we need to count early and count often. Get more people representing us back there. Thank you. Do we need a motion or anything on this? No?
Yes.
Resolution.
Move approval of the attached resolution.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. All right. Now we'll take up department item number 5.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'm Jim Bogan, your purchasing manager. Item 5A is requesting your board's approval to renew competitively awarded blanket purchase orders with Baker & Taylor and with Ingram Library Services for the purchase of library materials, including books, audio CDs, and DVDs. Baker & Taylor has agreed to renew for the exact same pricing as they offered in 2007. This year, Ingram has requested very minor decreases in some of the discounts that they offer us. So Baker & Taylor will be our primary, Ingram will be our backup to ensure that we can get all the materials we need. Staff recommends approval to award in the maximum aggregate amount of $435,000, and we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Board have any questions? Take a motion.
I move that we adopt blanket purchase order library materials book bid number 9654 in the maximum aggregate amount of $435,000.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Number 6.
Good morning, Chairman Rockholm, members of the board. Joel Swift, Deputy Director of Facility Services. I also have with me today the County Library Director, Mark Parker, and Lisa James, our Project Manager from Capital Improvements. It is my distinct pleasure to bring this recommendation to your board to approve plans and specifications and authorize staff to solicit bids for the Colfax Library renovation. A little background on the project. In 2006, your board approved the purchase and renovation of the old PG&E building in downtown Colfax that has housed that branch since 1976, and we proceeded with a project to renovate the building. The project consists of 2 phases of renovation of the 3,600 square foot library branch and has been presented to both the WACMAC and the City of Colfax City Council, and their comments have been incorporated into the project to date. The improvements also include accessibility, path of travel, ADA work in the bathrooms, parking, and site work improvements, new entry, flooring, and ceiling, new doors and windows, and a new roof for the building. The mission style of the exterior remains the same with a new coat of paint and removal of the old painted terracotta and replacement with a good new terracotta tile. And also we added guardrails to match the city's design standards. The project includes installation of new fire sprinkler and fire alarm systems and upgrade of the mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and structural systems. The project also includes recycled content materials for the flooring, the bathroom stalls, and the countertops. One of the unique things in the building, there's an old bank vault used by PG&E that has been essentially recycled as a time capsule celebrating the community history. We were not able to recycle the original tin ceiling that's in the building because it's been really damaged. It's actually been painted and nailed through, but Lisa was able to find a very close match to it that we would put in the upper ceiling, so I'll have a nice vaulted ceiling with the tin ceiling. The architect's estimate of probable construction cost is $690,532. In order to proceed with the renovation project, it is recommended that your board approve the plans and specifications and authorize staff to solicit bids. We would go out to bid immediately and return to your board for award of contract soon thereafter. And there is a 6-month contract time of the project with an anticipated completion by January 1st of next year. There is sufficient funding appropriated in the Colfax Library renovation project in the Capital Projects Fund. And with that, staff would be happy to answer any questions your board may have.
Board have any questions? Have a motion?
I would move that we approve plans and specifications for the Colfax Library renovation project 4765 and authorize staff to solicit bids for the project.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, item number 7. Good morning.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Maureen Baumann with the Director of the Adult System of Care. So this morning I have for you, I'm bringing you 6 contract amendments related to substance abuse treatment services for Placer County residents, and I'm requesting your approval to authorize the chairman of the board to sign the resulting and future amendments. There are no additional county general fund contributions for these amendments because funding is derived through state and federal contracts, grants, Medi-Cal allocations, and they are reflected in the department's 0809 budget. The contract amendments are for Aegis Medical Systems, Community Recovery Resources, Newly Counseling Services, Rockland Community Counseling, Substance Abuse Growth and Recovery Institute, and Sierra Council on Alcoholism and Drug Dependence. The county contracts with these and other substance abuse treatment providers to operate a continuum of care. That includes out-client detox, residential, and transitional living services. This provides an option for those folks who don't have the ability to pay for treatment services to avail themselves of treatment to the extent that those resources are available. Just a note, the criminal justice system mandates about 50% of these folks into these treatment programs, and we can report that treatment programs last year successfully completed 1,046 people from these programs who chose treatment as a result in recovery as part of their lives. In addition, in terms of looking at the criminal justice system, we continue to save approximately $2 million worth of jail beds, potential jail beds, days as part of our outcomes with these treatment programs. These mid-year contract amendments are necessary so that we maximize all the funding in the places where folks are utilizing treatment, so we make mid-year adjustments between the contracts. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions and recommend approval.
Anybody have questions? Seeing none, do I have a motion? And this is just for A, correct?
No, it's
Are both of them?
all six.
Okay.
Move approval of the 6 contract amendments related to substance abuse treatment services for Placer County residents, and authorize the chairman of the board to sign the resulting and future amendments.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? What I was referring to as A, there was an A and B because the bottom part. And now we'll take that, then I take.
Correct.
Okay.
So the second request is to approve 2 amendments related to mental health residential services for Placer County residents and to authorize the Director of Health and Human Services to sign the resulting amendment. These services, again, are costs that are covered in the department's 0809 final budget and are funded through savings achieved from a decreased use of locked facilities, moving people into these unlocked residential community programs. The 2 amendments are for the Davis Guest Home Program and the YOLO Community Care Continuum, Harmony House. Placer County, like other counties, is mandated to provide an integrated and coordinated range of community mental health services appropriate to meet the needs of children and adults. We continue to provide the most appropriate and cost-effective services in Placer County within the resources that are available. And as such, the adult system of care has worked very hard to decrease the use of the most costly locked inpatient mental health facilities and expand the use of less costly, comprehensive, and community-based residential treatment services. Research has shown that comprehensive residential treatment services leads to reductions in recidivism, decrease in hospitalizations, improved quality of life, and self-sufficiency for recipients while reducing treatment costs. So I would be happy again to answer any questions and recommend approval of these contract amendments.
Any questions? Do I have a motion for B?
Move approval of the action requested on page 17 of our board packet regarding the Davis Guest Home contract and the YOLO Community Care Continuum Harmony House contract.
Second.
Kirk, did you have a comment? No. Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Public Works. Good morning.
Good morning, Chairman, board members. My name is Ken Grimm with the Department of Public Works. The next item before you is establishing a new zone of benefit for the Hawks property parcel and setting a fee for services. In particular, we're asking you today to conduct a public hearing, consider any protests, tabulate the ballot, and adopt a resolution creating the zone of benefit and setting the charge, which is estimated at a maximum amount right now of $885 per parcel per year. These zones are created from time to time throughout the county to fund the service funding gap, particularly in this case for road maintenance purposes and drainage maintenance purposes. The CSA charge will pay for the long-term or a portion of the long-term road maintenance associated with this roadway that will be added to our county-maintained system. Pursuant to Proposition 218, the property owner has submitted a ballot, and that is in the affirmative. There is one property owner. So it is unanimous, but your board is required to conduct a public hearing. It is required, and then we're also asking that you adopt the resolution that will oppose the unit charge of $885, the maximum charge that can be done. These charges are supported by the applicant's engineer's report that is a part of the staff report or is on file with the city clerk or the county clerk. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Do I need to open it up to the public end for any public comment?
Public hearing.
It's a public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak on this item? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing.
I have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Can the $885 per parcel that on an annual basis, that is in support of what?
Specifically within the county and in this CSA is to provide extra support for road maintenance. What we typically do is have that the money that this land would bring to the road fund would fund all of the pothole patching, striping, any of those types of services that are required. The CSA is set up to fund the long-term resurfacing of this street. So that would include slurry seals that we estimate on a 7-year cycle and an overlay on a 21-year cycle. In addition to that, there's also some minor drainage facilities that require some maintenance for either water quality needs or for the ultimate replacement of culverts and those types of things.
Okay, and how does that $885 annual assessment compare to the assessment of the properties there in the Sterling Point subdivision?
Don't know exactly on Sterling Point. On average, it's a little over $250 per year per parcel is our average throughout the county. It's based on how many parcels, how much roadway compared to how large the lots are. These are very substantially large lots. It's also a very small CSA. So our fixed costs are a little higher than they would be compared to a large CSA. So that all goes to make a little bit of a larger or a higher cost than our average is. Actually, this case, quite substantial. It's a combination of the smallness in size, but also in terms of 4 parcels having to take the cost of their roadway as opposed to a more dense development where the cost is shared over a greater number of parcels.
And when you're saying their roadway, are you saying specifically just those new public road miles that we're seeing reflected as Lago Vista Court and the extension of Lake Forest Drive?
The Hawks property, I believe, and I don't have the engineer's report right here, but they will 100% cover the cost on their street, that little court, and then they have a fair share portion associated with Lake Forest Drive, which is the entry to their roadway. So they are paying a portion of that also.
In the event in the future, the 4 future homeowners decide they'd like to disband the CSA and take over maintenance themselves, thereby possibly saving themselves almost $1,000 a year in county collected fees, is there a mechanism that exists for them to do that?
There are mechanisms to dissolve a CSA. There would have to be some findings that are made. It hasn't, I'm trying to think if it's happened in the county since my tenure here. We have had some roadways change hands. I'm not exactly sure how that would happen, but I've got to imagine there's a way. If people want to take it out, it would always have to remain a public roadway. Part of this is it will be a public roadway. But if they wanted to take it out of the county maintenance and make it be privately maintained, there should be some mechanism for allowing for that.
Tree Lake did that with their landscape maintenance and all those things.
Yeah, roadway is a little different because there is a greater public need or a public purpose of the road, although in this case, that little court doesn't have a whole lot of greater public good.
Right.
I just haven't experienced it to be able to say exactly what that would be on a roadway sense.
Obviously, what's triggering these questions is $885 a year in perpetuity. It's a big chunk of change.
Yes, it is.
It's a fairly little road, and I've
It'll
watched
be well
it.
maintained.
Huh?
It'll be well maintained.
Yeah. I've been curious as to the evolution of this little project for some time because it popped up and then has kind of languished for a while, and seeing it back here with that price tag just
there's no doubt having small CSAs, as much as these things can be done on a more larger basis, there is definitely a scale of savings, but it's very difficult to do that in this case with these large lots.
And along those lines was the possibility of annexing into the CSA that was established for the Sterling Point subdivision, was that ever considered?
What ends up happening is you start, particularly if you ask the other Sterling Point property owners to perhaps take a portion of the cost associated with this new court, that would require a ballot of all of those property owners too. And experience is it's very hard to get the existing property owners to agree to fund a portion of a new roadway, particularly to get 2/3 of a majority to even allow you to consider such an action.
I understand that. I think what I was looking at is that adding the 4 parcels to that overall larger CSA might actually have served to reduce the cost of the existing CSA, given that the additional roadway is so nominal compared to the existing roadway infrastructure within Sterling Point, the number of courts and primary roads and all the rest. And so that was the only reason for asking the question.
And that's a fair question. What I'll say is what you're setting today is the maximum amount of the assessment. We'll take a look and see if there's a way of doing that, particularly on the fixed costs, if there's a way of reducing those to simplify it and combine it with something. I think that's a fair question, and I don't know the answer.
Jennifer, I know you, but Tony had a comment.
In answer to the question raised by Supervisor Euler, when Prop 218 passed, the law is clear that when we impose these types of fees, the rights reserved to the property owners to end the fee at some time in the future. And we have created this mechanism where the original vote is generally by the single property owner, and it thereby, as you indicated, projects into the future to the homeowners. The only time that I'm aware of is, again, in Tree Lake, where we did it. Very complex, large group. Here, it would be very simple. 4 people get together, 3 of the 4 tell us they want to change it, it's going to change. How we would paper that, we would probably not spend a lot of time on, since it would be a pretty easy vote. But there is that right, and that's true of every CSA fee that we've created under the Prop 218 since 1996, 94, I can't remember what year that is.
Thank you.
Jennifer.
At the time this $885 maximum fee was proposed, was the alternative of creating this as a private road considered and just paying their own fees?
Typically, that's an applicant's choice because we do allow private roads. I was not involved with the applicant during the conditioning process to be able to know how far that was explored. But my understanding was there was a discussion, and in fact, a lot of times on these small roads, we prefer that they do stay private because they do not have a greater public benefit as a through road, for instance, would have. This is simply a cul-de-sac. A lot of times people want it because they don't want the hassle. People who do live on private roads, then they have to somehow get together with their neighbors to maintain their roadway, and that can be a difficult thing to do, to get everyone to pay their fair share willingly. With the CSA, everyone is basically forced in perpetuity to pay their fair share, whatever that cost is estimated to be. And so in this case, I believe it was, but I wasn't personally involved in the conditioning, and we would always be happy to, we are always happy to allow them to do private roads as long as they're not roads that benefit a larger region.
Okay, and then you had mentioned that this fee would cover a portion, I think you said, of the future road costs. Do we have any idea what that proportion would be?
Oh, in terms of percentages, it probably depends on well, how we do it is, again, when someone develops in this county, they contribute to the road fund by just being here. Road fund's determined, our contribution from the state is determined by 2 factors. One is population, so anyone who comes in, a couple more cents in, and whenever we add road mileage, we get a proportion associated with that road mileage. In this case, again, very small piece of road over our 1,100 miles, very small increment of change. So what we've said on average, that will cover all the costs except the long-term resurfacing of a roadway. And I don't have a number as far as what the percentage breakthrough is, but we have basically said a CSA will pay for the long-term recycling. Slurries every 7 years, overlay every 21 years. And that's the cost we're collecting, and that's shown in the engineer's report. But I don't have the breakdown of a percentage of the total.
Maybe I'm not understanding what you were expressing. I just want to be sure that if we do move to adopt this $885 per parcel per year fee, that it will actually cover those estimated long-term costs, not just a portion of them.
With the action you're taking today, it is the cost established right now of what it will be in perpetuity. With inflation, we don't know exactly, but we feel comfortable that it covers to make sure that the remaining citizenry are not going to have to pay for the upkeep of that road more than what they're bringing into the fund. And we feel comfortable with that.
Thank you.
Tom, did you have a comment?
Just back to a question that was raised by, or an example or request that was raised by Supervisor Euler. In terms of the economies of scales, this is a very small CSA, has high administrative costs and large parcel size. But to give an example, you had mentioned the surrounding subdivision around that, that's Sterling Point. When the county, at the request of the citizens of Granite Bay, expanded the lighting and landscaping district for park purposes, for the whole greater Granite Bay area. Tree Lake and Sterling Point had pre-existing assessments for just recreation purposes. And there were other areas that had little pockets of assessments. The Sterling Point area at the time, I think, was in a neighborhood of $500 and some odd because they had a park that benefited only Sterling Point. When we did the equalized assessment throughout the area of Granite Bay, I believe all the assessments, because everybody else joined in and you got the economy of scale on administration, dropped to, I think it's about $60 per parcel. That's now the operational cost at every parcel, and Granite Bay bears towards the maintenance of those parks, which are pretty significant and been developed by the county over the last several years. So I think your point's well raised that these smaller units of administrative and service aren't very economical in size, but we do, as a regular practice, look to where we can combine those and lower the cost for everybody within the region by which these CSAs are served.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to discuss this? Or make a comment or make a payment?
Make a payment. Chairman Rockwell, members of the board, Nick Abdus with the law firm of LaDuke and Abdus on behalf of the applicant on this particular item. It's been a long time coming to get this item completed. I know it's been out there for quite some time, and when our firm got involved, unfortunately, the conditions had already been imposed that the cul-de-sac be maintained by a CSA. And while it wasn't our first choice, we just dealt with the cards that our hand that we were played, and we were in negotiations with the association to annex us into the associations for purposes of architectural review. At first, we explored the possibility with the association to take over the maintenance and operation of the cul-de-sac as well as the portion of Lake Forest Drive. The association's concern was the impact on their existing ratepayers within the association and their dues and how they would be impacted by our project. And after long discussions, very long discussions, it was determined that the best route to take was to form the CSA, which was a condition of approval to the parcel map. So while not optimal, we've been assured by staff that the actual amount will be considerably less than the $885. In fact, as discussions as early as or as late as last week, it's I think $200 less than that per parcel per year. So from our perspective, we're willing to accept that as a part of getting this project done. So I'd be happy to answer any questions as well. If you
anybody have a question of him? Thank you. Do I have a motion? Oh, I'll close the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. And 19 or 8B, commuter buses.
Good morning. Will Garner, Placer County Public Works. And this morning, this is a request to authorize the purchase of 5 commuter buses from Motor Coach Industries in the amount not to exceed $2,750,000. These are going to be coaches like we don't currently own. They're 45-foot, 57-passenger diesel buses, and they'll be used in our Placer Commuter Express service. And what they're doing is replacing buses that we currently use that are contractor-provided buses that are owned by Amador Stage Line. And also we have, since we expanded the service to 4 routes, we've been using a smaller, typical transit-style bus with 42 seats. That's a bus that we're borrowing from Tahoe Area Regional Transit for this. So with the purchase of these 5 buses, we would have 5 large buses that are all the same for the 4 routes that we run. So we would have 4 in service and 1 serving as a backup, which is crucial. The funding, important here, is it's 96% funded by outside grant funding sources, both federal and state. The funds, the 2 that are currently in the budget are funded through a CMAQ grant, a Congestion Mitigation Air Quality Grant, that was approved through the PCTPA and the SACOG agencies for the purchase of 2 commuter buses. Secondly, there's Proposition 1B state bond funds for transit purposes that have been awarded to the county for this project, but of course the bond funds are not currently flowing. But once they do flow, we have a guarantee that our project for purchase of buses is an approved project. And then third, the most recent source of funding that has come through is what we're calling the economic stimulus, or what's properly named the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act funds. There's a large chunk nationwide for Federal Transit Administration projects, and so we were able to secure or apply for 1.1 million of those funds within the Sacramento urbanized area towards this bus purchase. Those funds have been approved by SACOG. That happened in March 19th, and then what that does, it gets amended into their Metropolitan Transportation Improvement Program that then goes to the federal government for approval, which is pending right now and is expected to happen within a couple of weeks. The local money, I mentioned it was 96% funded with grant funds. The 4%, or approximately 4%, is TDA, Transportation Development Act funds that we have put aside in prior years towards capital reserves for bus purchases for this purpose. The MCI, Motor Coach Industries, is the successful vendor. There were 2 vendors that put in proposals for this. This was a cooperative, competitive procurement process that we did with Yolo County Transportation District as the lead, and involved were El Dorado County, Yuba Sutter Transit, Elk Grove, City of Roseville, Yosemite Area Transit, along with us. We all did a joint procurement process and had interviews and evaluated the proposals, and there's information on the scoring in your packet there. But MCI was far and away the best proposal for these buses. I mentioned that these will be replacing buses that we currently use in the service. So this is really seen as a replacement of existing buses. These are diesel buses. One key here is that we're replacing 3 older diesel buses with older diesel emission technology. These buses will be 2007 plus engines, which are certified at a much cleaner level by California Air Resources Board. So the particulate matter from the diesel is nearly minimal here. And NOx, the other pollutant, has also been reduced significantly with these 2007 engines. And that will also help us towards our achievement of our air quality requirements that are put upon bus operators by California Air Resources Board, which is very important. Key to all of this is seating capacity. One of the ongoing largest problems that we have with Placer Commuter Express is seating capacity. Since this really started taking off in 2005, we've expanded from 2 routes to 3 routes and then again to 4 routes about a year ago. And all of this because of the increased demand for the service. I have some statistics in the report, but there are, in December through February, most recent months here, 21% of our runs were at maximum seating capacity. And 71% of our runs were at 75% plus seating capacity. So what that means is that at times the bus will pull up to the last stop in Sacramento to get home, for example, and we can't allow everybody on the bus because there's not enough seats. These buses will increase our overall seating capacity by 35 seats, which is significant for us on the 4 buses combined. But that also provides for us as an opportunity for more fare revenue. And doing a very conservative estimate, thinking that not every new seat will be filled, that we would receive $25,800 more in fare revenue in a year with the additional seating capacity. And then finally, owning our own buses, I think, is a goal, and getting away from contractor-provided buses, which we had an experience last couple of years with Pride Industries, who operated our dial-a-ride service and also provided those buses. Getting away from that type of service, leaving us sort of vulnerable to not having our own fleet operated by that contractor. This will give us our own fleet. It'll give us control of the type of fleet that we have on a day-to-day basis. And it'll also reduce the cost of operating the fleet over the years. We estimate that the savings that we'll achieve in our ongoing day-to-day operating costs will be 15% of the existing costs. And that is because we pay Amador Stage Lines a premium for those buses, because those buses are buses they would otherwise use in revenue charter service, and so we have to pay a good amount for that. So this achieves a lot of things for us. The idea is we are seeking authorization today to buy the 5 buses. Our plan is to initially purchase just 2, which are the ones that are currently in the budget, and we would await for the final funding approvals on the next 3 before we ordered those 3 buses. And that's this money that's coming through the reinvestment, or the American Reinvestment and Recovery Act, is money that we have to act on quickly, and that's part of why we want to do it in this fiscal year, so we can be in line to spend that money in a timely fashion. So there are 3 actions involved here. One is to approve a budget revision of $1.1 million to add 2 buses to this current fiscal year's budget. Also approve the addition of those 2 buses to the master fixed asset list, and then to authorize the purchasing manager to sign a purchase order and all related documents with Motor Coach Industries for the purchase of the 5 buses. And I'd be happy to take any questions on this.
Any questions? Seeing none, do I have a motion? A second. Okay. We'll do a roll call on this.
Euler. Holmes. Montgomery. Rackham.
Yes. Thank you. Very good presentation. Item number 9.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, Barbara Bassano with the Sheriff's Department. The item before you this morning is to approve the Justice Assistance Grant with the Recovery Act Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant. We call it JAG, which is much easier to say, in the amount of $276,396. That is shared between the City of Roseville and Placer County in a proportionate amount of $138,198. Of that amount, Placer County will proportionately distribute those costs between the Sheriff's Department and probation in support of the Special Investigations Unit, whereby funding was reduced, and to backfill that funding so that those activities can continue. That would be to reduce the occurrence of trafficking of illegal drugs and also related to the reducing children endangered in a drug-related environment. For a little bit of history, previously the JAG grant had been provided to the county in decreasing amounts in the previous years. This current year, I believe we had the extravagant amount of $12,000 to spend from this grant. With the Recovery Act, we have now this amount of $276,000, which is provided to local agencies and counties over $100,000. Because of the investment that the local law enforcement agencies have with the special investigations units and reducing illegal drugs in our county, we have decided to share it in this amount. This equates to, in Placer County, to the equivalent about 1.25 full-time equivalents. For those folks in Roseville, it's civilian law enforcement backfilling their sworn law enforcement, and that equates to 2.76 FTEs, or full-time equivalents. It is required by the grant that it is presented to your board 30 days in advance of submittal to the federal government, as well as being available for public review. In addition, Roseville is the lead agency in this grant, and therefore we have an MOU, a Memorandum of Understanding, with them to implement this grant. Your board's approval is required for the grant, to provide public comment, and also to approve the execution of the MOU and other related grant documents.
Any questions?
Any questions?
Have a motion.
I move we adopt the JAG grant, the Justice Assistant Grant in the amount of $276,396 to be proportionally shared with the City of Roseville and County of Placer. And further, we authorize the County Executive Officer to execute any grant documents and MOU with the City of Roseville.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you. The next item is for the approval of the competitive request for proposals, number 9837. This is the request for to Hangar 1 Avionics for the helicopter completion services and installation of mission equipment. In addition, the selected mission equipment to be purchased separately by the county as provided by the procurement services. In regards to that, the piece of equipment that will be pulled out and separately purchased is the Access V9 multi-sensor system. And I have Captain Dave Harris here if we need more information as to what and how that operates, and that would be in the amount of $238,150. The attached budget revision appropriating the equipment, the authorization for the sheriff to execute the memorandum of understanding with the United Auburn Indian Community, and the purchasing manager to sign all the documents related to the implementation of the and purchase of the mission equipment in the amount not to exceed $1,730,210. As your board recalls, in January of 2007, the helicopter was approved to be purchased. At that time, the board also approved the request for proposals for the mission equipment. The mission equipment is essential to transform the helicopter from a base helicopter to a law enforcement tool. As you may recall from the last meeting, the helicopter is ready for acceptance and is planned to be accepted in mid-April. The RFP was sent out to 10 qualified companies. 3 responded. There was a panel of 5 members of multi-disciplines. It was unanimously selected Hangar 1 Avionics. Because of the delay in the proposal to the bid award, there have been some increases in mission equipment. That is a 1% sales tax that went into effect on April 1st, as well as some price increases of the equipment. Sheriff's staff have worked diligently with Hangar 1 to reduce those costs and to keep the bid within the $1.7 million that was originally quoted. So, and in regards to that, they also, the purchasing manager can secure other items if it looks like it will be at a better price, and that's what we're doing or recommending for your board for the multi-sensor system. It can be purchased at a lower cost and then provided to Hangar 1 for installation with the remaining equipment. In addition, the United Auburn Indian Community has agreed to pay for lease payments up to $1 million, and in a subsequent board action, the treasurer will present those loan documents for your board's approval. There again, we're asking for the award of the bid to Hangar 1 Avionics, the purchase of the multi-sensor system, separately the authorization for the sheriff to execute the MOU, the purchasing manager to execute all related documents, as well as the budget revision appropriating so that these things can be implemented. Where I'm available for questions is Captain Harris.
Have any questions? Jim?
Yeah, on page 49 of our board packet, equipment to be furnished by Hager 1 Avionics.
Yes.
Item number 31, Bambi bucket. I thought that we were going to withdraw that from the...
That is correct. That is just the wiring for the Bambi bucket, should it be desired to be added at a later date.
And is it any extra cost to do that while they're in the
It's
process? I mean, is this just a matter of putting
To
in
go
the plug?
back and do it would be cost prohibitive in comparison to what it would cost to have the provisions put in now.
So is there any thought of going back and putting the Bambi bucket in?
We wanted to leave that option available for the board to consider in the future. We didn't want to shut that down completely, but we did want to leave that option there.
Okay.
It's actually less than $1,000. It's very minimal.
Okay. Mr. Chair, as you know, it's no surprise that I was opposed to this purchase in the beginning, but since it was the wisdom of the board to go ahead with this purchase and not wishing to be thought of as an obstructionist, I will go ahead and support this item.
Jennifer, did you want to make a comment? So are you making a motion then?
I will make that motion, yes. Competitive request for proposals 9837.
Do you have a second?
Second.
What are you laughing about?
Roll call?
Holmes? Euler?
Aye.
Montgomery? Rocco?
Aye. Thank you. Yes. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Related to your last item is the lease purchase financing of the helicopter, and you have two items before you as the board, and then you will need to adjourn as the board and reconvene as the Placer County Public Financing Authority to take one other action. The first item as the board is to authorize and direct the preparation of certain documents related to the lease financing, and to authorize staff to take any necessary action to complete the financing. The second item, and also authorize execution of those documents. The second resolution is to give express authority to the treasurer to purchase the certificates resulting from the transaction due to the fact that they have a 7-year maturity. Government code requires authorization from the board for the treasurer to make any investment in excess of 5 years to maturity. So those are those two actions. I'd be glad to answer any questions you might have.
That's on number 10.
I might make one other comment, and that is that the structure of this is essentially the same structure as we do for a certificate of participation, which your board has done in the past.
On those first two? Yes. Kirk?
No, I was simply prepared to make a motion.
Oh.
Can I entertain one?
So Tony is recommending we take 10 and then do one first and then second one?
Right, take a separate vote on each item one and then item two.
So do I have a motion for item one then?
So I am then assuming that the resolution on page 57 is the one relating to item 1, correct?
No, I don't have the pagination in,
I don't know. Is that right, Tony?
Approve the authorization
Yes.
directing. Okay. Because we're actually asking for, that's the resolution, full resolution authorizing direction. So item 57 completes item number 1. I mean, page 57 completes item number 1, correct?
Yes.
Okay, then I move approval of the resolution found on page 57 of our board report.
All those in favor? Aye. And then item number 2 would be the,
And that resolution is, flipping through quickly, all the way. I believe it is on, where did I find it?
that's giving the tax collector
Page 90, thank you.
the authority to make those purchases beyond 5 years.
There it is, yes. Move approval of the resolution contained on page 90, 91 of our board packet.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Thank you. Now we will adjourn as the Placer County Board of Supervisors and convene as the Placer County Public Finance Authority and take up item number 11.
again, as the Placer County Public Financing Authority, your board is asked to approve a resolution authorizing and directing the preparation and execution of the lease financing documents, and also directing that any other actions necessary to complete the lease purchase financing be taken, and also specifying, authorizing the issuance of lease purchase certificates and specifying an amount not to exceed $1.5 million for those certificates, and to authorize the execution of those documents. Do you have any questions?
Go ahead. And then Tony.
The only comment I want to make is your board has had two intensive discussions about the purchase and the finance options and the helicopter, and your board made a conscious decision last time to move forward with the purchase and the acquisition of this equipment. And then it was rather simply said, now go prepare the financial documents to make it done. I know that Janine has worked tirelessly on completing these documents. Other offices have been involved, but this is a very simple ending to a very complex set of financial documents and agreements, insurance that had to be arrived at, risk management, but clearly the lion's share of the work was done by Janine and her office, and I think that needs to be acknowledged by the public record here.
Tony.
Yeah, a question came up from one of the aides to the supervisors yesterday about some of the documents being in form. They are in form, and the reason that the language appears that it doesn't know which council is, I'm sure we know who we are, but those will be finished later when the actual signing occurs, and the board has voted to approve them as to form and authorize signatures in the future. And secondly, if I'm reading the agenda right, the resolution in question appears on page 96.
Yeah, I might add that that is standard practice, not by just this board, but school district boards and boards of supervisors and city councils in the debt issuance process, is to approve financing documents of this nature as to form, and it's how it's always been done here since I've been involved over the last 22 years.
So number 11, do we have a motion?
Yeah, approve the resolution attached in our board packet at page 96, 97.
Second, and I have a comment. I just want to thank certainly Janine for her hard work on this, and then the whoever was involved in the Sheriff's Department to bring forward the helicopter acquisition funding agreement with the United Auburn Indian community. It's very helpful, so I just want to thank you. And yes, I second
I
that.
have a second. Before we vote, I just want to make a comment. Janine, thank you. We probably wouldn't be at this point if it hadn't been for the work you've done. And I think it gave me a great deal of comfort with your involvement and how this is all going to work, and I just want to thank you.
Well, thank you. And I do want to iterate that there were a lot of people involved in a lot of departments. Procurement was involved, risk management, CEO's office, of course, the Sheriff's Department, my office. I hope I'm not, County Council. So there was a lot of moving parts and a lot of people and offices behind those moving parts to bring this all together. So, thank you.
Barbara and Captain Harris also. I mean, you guys did a good job, so. Anyway, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Now we will adjourn as the Placer County Public Finance Authority and reconvene as the Placer County Board of Supervisors, and that concludes our normal business.
Setting a record pace, following the North Carolina Tar Heels and speeding up and down the court. We're going to go into closed session, item 12 on page 5, and take up one litigation matter as described in labor discussions. Oh, wow. So, at the end of the season, I had to get a